Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream Today. Please welcome him.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. Years ago, a great American, in whose symbolic shadow we stand today, signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who have been seared on the flames of wilderness injustice. There are hundreds, but now, 100 years later, the Negro is still not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the segregation and the chain of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives in lonely island of poverty and midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. So we have come here today to dramatize the shameful condition. In a sense, we have come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to share. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note. And as her citizens of color are concerned, instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity on this nation. So we have come here to cash this check, a check that will give us, upon demand, the riches of freedom and the security of justice. We have also come to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlight path of racial injustice. Now is the time to fill our nations from the quicksands of racial injustice in the solid rock of brotherhood. It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. 1963 is not an end, but a beginning. Those who hope that the Negro needed to blow off steam and will now be content will have a rude awakening and the nation's returns to business as usual. There will be either rest, no tranquility in America until the Negro is granted his citizenship rights. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protest to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force. The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to distrust of all white people, for many of our white brothers are evidenced by the presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny. They have come to realize that their freedom is bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone. I am not unmindful that some of you come here of great trials and tribulations. Some of you have come fresh from narrow jail cells. Some of you have come from areas where your quest for freedom left you battered by the storms of persecution and staggered by the winds of police brutality. You have been the veterans of creative suffering. Go back to Mississippi. Go back to Alabama. Go back to South Carolina. Go back to Georgia. Go back to Louisiana. Go back to the slums and ghettos of our northern cities, knowing that somehow this situation can and will be changed, let us not wallow on the valley of despair. I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted on the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out that true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day, on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slaves owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with heat and of injustice and sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into the oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of the skin, by the content of the character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious races, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day, right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls and sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this happens, when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up the day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the Negro spiritual. Free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.